Today we've got a phone that's a little bit crazy. It's called the Nomu S50 Pro, and the company has said, feel free to drop it, put it in a freezer, or even run over it with a car. So, that's what we're gonna do. Alright, before we start destroying stuff, let's take a quick look around the phone. On the front you've got a 5.74-inch display on a phone powered by Android 8.1. The phone is massive and it weighs a well above average 300 grams, but this heft gives it three significant advantages. Number one, it contains a 5000 mAh battery, which is a good 25 to 30% more than most flagships. The S50 Pro has pretty ridiculous durability, as you're about to see, and the third thing is that whilst most of those flagship phones have IP67 or IP68 resistance, this phone has IP69. What this means is that it can withstand not just immersion in water, but also uncomfortably high temperatures, as well as high pressure jets. Aside from that, you've got a 13 megapixel camera with a fingerprint scanner just below it, and the last thing really is the design language. This is a bulky phone, but the company hasn't tried to hide away from that. It's embraced the heft of the device and tried to create something that feels like a tool, as well as a smartphone. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna do a bit of cooking, because apparently one of the things this phone can survive is being cooked with your breakfast. Now, I've got no idea in what world this actually happens, but we're gonna try and fry it with an egg, and if it somehow manages to survive that, we're gonna have to up the ante. So we're just gonna make a standard fried egg here, nothing fancy, but this pan, as we go through the process of cooking the egg, is gonna reach a temperature of over 200 degrees Celsius. With most phones, this could be a real problem. Regardless, whichever phone you have, please don't try this at home. Plastics can start melting, fumes can be released, not to mention batteries can start exploding. So the egg's completely cooked now, so I guess it was just time to see whether the phone was. And I suppose because of that IP69 water resistance, you can literally just stick it under a tap and not really worry about it. What I did do, which felt pretty wrong at the time, was cover it in cleaning fluid and scrub it. And the phone was completely fine. In fact, if nothing else, it's just cleaner than it was before. So now for a slightly more conventional test, for a way that people genuinely do break their smartphones, I decided to put it in a washing machine. I've known people who only too late realised they'd left their phone in their jean pocket, and at that point, it was game over. I found the phone at the bottom of the pile, and it was covered in soap and water. It felt like a bit of a greasy mess, but the screen still worked absolutely fine. I didn't even have to wipe the liquid off. But of course, if I did want to do that, you just turn on the tap and yeah, problem solved. Okay, so I started off the durability test by holding out the phone at about a height of 1.2 meters and dropping onto a concrete surface. And everything works. The screen was completely intact, the only damage being in the bottom corner where the impact was, and even then it's not too major. So then it was time to step it up a little bit. Yeah, so we then ran over the phone with a car, and this car was about 1200 kilos, so about 1.2 tons in terms of weight. Initially, I actually thought the screen was cracked because of this, but actually it turns out the car had just compressed the bits of dirt that were already trapped underneath the screen protector, and this had caused the screen protector to break. So when we took that off, the screen underneath was unmarked. So for the sake of making sure that it's totally car-proof, we decided to do it again with the unprotected screen facing upwards. And at this point I'm like, okay, this is impressive. The phone has minor surface damage on the front and the back, but it's pretty much still unmarked. The phone has managed to handle a lot of pressure here, not to mention being pushed directly into hard, irregular gravel. But I wanted to test the limits here, so with a bit of help, we started throwing it. And to start with, throwing it along the ground about 10 meters, it was again completely fine. You'll start to notice a few dents in the corners where the impact was, but in a sense this is protecting the main body of the phone. We then threw it into a tree and let it drop, which equated to about 3 meters of distance between that and the ground. And again, we must have thrown it 20 meters forward into a hard concrete surface, but the main damage here was literally just that the SIM tray had come out. Scuffed up obviously, but the fact that it's still breathing Quite impressive. So that was the Nomu S50 Pro, and just from the way it looks alone, I was expecting durability, but not to this extent. I will leave a link in the description below, so feel free to check that out. And as always, thank you so much for watching. My name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you in the next one.